Welcome to another episode of The Writer's Room. I know I told you guys that we would be getting episodes every other week, but I just felt like releasing an episode this week for you guys because I really wanted to get this off of my chest. So, on today's episode, we're going to talk about the dream I had this morning. Have you ever had a dream where you feel like it's not just some regular dream, like a insignificant dream? Well, for me, that's what it was for me this morning. It was a dream that I knew was trying to teach me something. And so during my morning routine, I was writing in my journal about the lessons that I was supposed to take from this dream. And, usually when you have dreams, they're kind of like shorts or clips, right? And sometimes I have dreams that are kind of like full-blown movies. This was that kind of dream. So I'm going to try and set the stage for you guys as far as like the beginning, middle, and end of the dream, and then kind of give you an idea as to the lessons that I took from it. And I'm going to share it with you guys, and hopefully you can take from something from that. So here's the scene. I'm going to this party. It's kind of like a reunion of all my college friends or colleagues and associates, right? And it's on this land, very elaborate land. It's kind of like the Downton Abbey. That's how the house looked like. You know how Downton Abbey has all these trees, the green, and then this huge home. Very rustic looking. I don't know if that's the right name, but a very classical look, right? And in the backyard was this garden, and everyone that I went to school with, they all showed up, and they came with their families, they came with their kids, and it was kind of like in a cocktail hour that was going on outside. And I remember I was there with my husband and I was there with my daughter, and then people started to approach me and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing great. I'm doing fine, dude." And we just kind of get into a conversation and just catching up, basically, like what's going on with our careers, what's going on with our kids, different things like that. And my ex-friend kind of walks into the room. She pulls up. Sometimes you see an ex-friend at a place and you kind of like, oh, or like kind of like when you see your ex-boyfriend or you have an ex-girlfriend and they show up to an event that you're at, and you kind of just feel like the energy just shifted. You're like, oh man, I don't want to have to deal with this. Because you're going to have to interact with them. You're going to cross paths. So you might have this awkward conversation. Oh, hey. And I hate things like that. I hate conversations like that. Weird. So I just felt like, oh, man, darn, she's here. She's here. Right. And so I know eventually I'm going to run into her throughout this event at the house. So one of my friends, I'm kind of trying to do my best to avoid her, right? But, one of my friends comes up to me. She's like, "Man, whatever happened to you guys? You guys should be so close." And all the feelings just kind of came up in me. And I was almost like frustrated and angry again, and just like hurt and sad and angry, all these different feelings. So I remember I see her and I'm like, I'm going to go talk to her. And I'm trying to find her in this huge house, and there's this hallway in the house. And I'm going through the hallways, and I'm seeing other people. Other people are throughout the house, and I don't know what they're doing, but they're in the house. It's like a huge event that's going on. And I remember walking through the hallways looking for her, and I had this like nervous feeling in the pit of my stomach because I know I'm going to have to run into her. And I'm like thinking about all the things I'm going to say, like, "Oh, you did this, you know." But it was all those things kind of racing through my mind, all the resentments, everything. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to tell her. I'm going to be like, yeah, and instead of having that weird conversation, I'm going to just be like, yeah, I don't know what happened to us, but this is my experience. Just kind of bringing it up again. It is so weird because you have a kid now. It's so much time has passed, but in the dream, that's what I'm doing. I'm like walking through the hallways trying to find her. And I find this girl, and she's kind of a mutual friend of us. So I was like asking her, "Oh, do you know where so-and-so is?" And she says, "Yeah, I think she went that way." And it's weird, right? I'm like, she went that way. And it's the other side of the house that she kind of falls into. And the other side of the house is really, really dark. It's kind of like dust. If you guys watch the show Bly Manor, that's what it felt like. It felt just like the same energy, the same feeling of walking through the halls like you in Blind Manor. And she walked into this room that she wasn't supposed to walk into. And it's weird because I don't know how I knew that she wasn't supposed to walk into that room, but I just knew. And I went there and I went and chased after her to try and save her because I knew that room was an evil room. There was a spirit. There was something there that she would have been trapped, and I felt that she wouldn't have the spiritual capacity to save herself. So I went to go and save her, which is so weird. I'm sure there's a lesson in that, right? But I'm going in there. I go with the girl and we find her and we pull her out of the room and I'm saying all these prayers and she's kind of like incapacitated. She's not she's not in her right state of mind. And so I'm praying over her. I'm praying over her. I'm like, hey, help in Jesus' name. As I walk through the valley, all of that. Um, I'm praying to kind of help her come to so she could get out of this dark room, this dark space. And then I realized, okay, she's better now. She gets up, she's looking normal, and I'm like, hey, you okay? And then this character from the show Lucifer is so weird. The guy who plays Lucifer in the show Lucifer shows up and he just looks at me and he disappears into one of the rooms in the hallway. And I'm like, oh shoot, we're actually not out of the room. We're still in this room. It was kind of like we were in a different dimension. It was like we were in the dark side dimension of the house. You ever seen the show Stranger Things where there's the reality and then there's the other dimension? That's where we were in and we were stuck in there and we couldn't get out. It got to a point where I was just kind of like, oh, well, I guess we're just going to walk the halls until we find a way. I kind of gave up about like getting out. And I remember sitting down and Lucifer sitting there. And it's terrible that I'm saying Lucifer, like ill. That's how scary it was. That's how dark it was, right? It was like I was stuck in a loop. And I remember just saying, man, I miss my mom. And I was just expressing all the love that I have for all these people and how much I miss them. And I remember him looking at me and I remember walking out the room and I was like, wait, I'm out. I made it out of the room. And I'm walking down the hall and I get to this mirror and I'm old and gray. Old and gray. And there's another party going on, but there's a much younger group of people. And I'm looking around and none of the people that were there when I was at the house party are there anymore. It's like they've all moved on. And I remember there was a little girl, one of my friends' kids that was there. She was there, but she was older. And I remember like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm finally out. But then I'm like, wow, I'm old and I'm pretty sure if I go try and find my daughter, find my husband, find those people, I'll probably be saddened to find that they're no longer around, that they moved on. And all the friends that were there, they've all turned gray and old and they've all moved on and I've missed out. I was happy to be out, but I was sad because I was like, wow, I've spent so much time in this terrible dimension. And I realized the only reason why I made it out is because I was in the midst of expressing love. And that was the only thing that mattered to me in that moment. And then I woke up from the dream. And I remember writing in my journal, I was like, man, what the heck does that dream mean? What does it mean? And I thought to myself that this dream is about forgiveness. That's what it was about. I've had experiences in my life where people who I've loved deeply, that I care for deeply, hurt me, you know? And I held on to it for a long time and I just kind of let them go, cut them off, and just out of sight, out of mind. But I didn't realize that I was still carrying that hurt and that pain because in this dream, I'm running after her to kind of go through and rewind, and I'm running towards my past to get to her. And then I end up in this endless time loop. And I didn't make it out until I made that expression of love. And I realized that all the people that I thought that I'd forgiven, I probably haven't forgiven them because it's probably why I'm having this dream. I just basically cut them off. And people think that, you cut them off. No, there's some healing that needs to be done after someone you love, someone you care about has done you harm, whether it was intentionally or not. There needs to be some healing after you make the decision to cut ties, whatever it is. There needs to be some healing, and there needs to be some real, true forgiveness. I don't know what true forgiveness really means, but I remember, like, I would be the type of person who I'd cut that person off, but I wouldn't really wish that person well. I would say it, but I don't know if I actually really meant it, you know? And I think when somebody does you harm, I maybe one of them petty people. I'm like, I hope you have some pebbles, rocks in your shoes that you walk with, all like, that kind of thing. And that's not good. I think that was a representation of me being stuck in a time loop in this very dark place with an evil spirit, and what it did to my soul. And I think that that's the lesson that I was supposed to take from this dream. I'm supposed to focus on love, forgive these people, wish them well, and really mean that, so I can move on and not let life pass me by. And I'm old and gray holding on to all these stories and these terrible experiences and these people. I have to genuinely forgive them for the sake of myself and for the sake of me going on this journey of finding my purpose. And I think it's very interesting that now that I've decided that, hey, I'm going to focus on working on my dreams, doing this podcast, like changing my career and all of that other stuff, that it was necessary for me to have this dream to say, hey, you have some things and some people that you're holding on to. I don't think it's necessarily this ex-friend, but I think she was in representation of all the people who have hurt me, that I thought that I had let go of them. And I realized I actually didn't, because if somebody were to bring them up to me, I'd be getting into it again. And, you think that you moved on for something, but when that somebody, a mutual friend or whatever, brings that person up, and you getting right back into and all those feelings come up. Those feelings come up, to means that I don't think you've fully forgiven that person yet. And I realized that I learned a few lessons over the week, that people who have hurt you are people who are also broken within themselves. And maybe it's really not about you. And just this very unfortunate experience happened because they haven't found their healing. And so I can't allow the person who hasn't healed to cause me to stay broken or be broken. And I need to be able to heal and forgive to move on, and not allow life to pass me by and I'm stuck in this endless loop. And yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. I really want you guys to think about what forgiveness means. I think that phrase that says forgiveness is not for the person, it's for you. That dream was a complete representation of that, and I've learned that there's nothing good that comes from holding on to these things, these people, these experiences, the hurt and the pain. It's kind of like you have to let that go, so then you could really experience love and really experience life. And yeah, that was a very interesting dream. I'm a very spiritual person, and I really think that sometimes the Lord tries to communicate with me. I remember before I was born, I heard my daughter's voice. And so I know that these things are real. I know that there are lessons that I need to learn. And I think that God was trying to give me this. He gave me this dream to teach me something, to say, hey, before you move forward in this, you need to let this go. And I need to show you why you need to let it go. You need to let it go because you're going to turn gray and old, and everybody done moved on and you stuck. And I think that's why I had that dream. So, yeah, you guys, that's it for today's episode. If you guys have ever had a dream or had an experience like this, go ahead and send an email at writersroompod@gmail.com. Again, that's writersroompod@gmail.com. Tell me your story. Tell me your dream. If you want me to share it on the show, just make sure you indicate that in the email. Yeah, that's all for today, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.